Okay. I'm gonna bring my water, my phone. I'm gonna leave the rest over here. But today's topic is going to be what to do when you are low on motivation. And it's gonna be in general more just like um, an insight into how discipline kind of takes over. But we'll talk about how like motivations are gonna change and all that good stuff. But first, let's get into our first set, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay, I put it over there. Okay. So let's start. How do we talk about this? Well, initially, for a lot of people, coming to the gym kind of starts off. And if you've ever, I'm gonna create an analogy here so you guys can kind of understand what I'm saying. It initially starts off as some form of, if you've ever been to like a bonfire, when they first start the fire, you know, you have this really big flame and you have this like it's like super high intensity. There's a lot of fuel to it, and there's not a lot of like I guess the best way to put it is like there's not really a lot of give to how big the flame is, right? It has all the fuel it needs. It's burning as hard as it can, all that good stuff. But as time goes on, right, you have to add fuel to that flame. You can't just leave it alone, because if you leave it alone, the flame's going to burn out, right? And you won't have the fire anymore. And so I guess that could be an analogy for the people that like, those are the kinds of people that, you know, they say, okay, I'm going to go on a diet. They go super, super hard for 2 weeks. And then, you know, it fizzles out, right? They stop doing it completely because they've burnt themselves out from just the sheer amount of discipline or the amount of change they're trying to implement in like a short period of time. And then you have the people that feed the flame, right? The people that are constantly trying to add some form of motivation to their plan, right? Or to their gym journey. And those are the people that kind of like, you'll see them in the gym, but they'll have days where it's good and days where it's bad. And it's really high variance. So I guess like the best way to put it is if like you had a bottle of like kerosene next to you, and every so often you were just like dumping a bunch of it into the flame. Now kerosene will do a lot for a fire, but it's not going to add fuel to it, right? All it does is kind of just give you this quick burst, and then it'll go back to normal, right? Or you've burned through more fuel than normal, and now you're worse off than you were before. And that's kind of where a lot of people are, right? They have this mentality that it's like, okay, I need to be motivated to go to the gym. And so when they run out of that motivation, they kind of ping pong between a bunch of different ones and hope for the best. Right? They hope that like one of them will catch. Now where we want to get to is we want to be the kind of person that adds fuel to their fire constantly. Now what does that look like? Normally it looks like someone that isn't going to be satisfied with how they look, and they know for a fact they won't. And not in an unhealthy way, but in the sense that they know that they constantly need to be improving. And that goal of needing, of wanting to find new heights, of wanting to reach new heights, is the only thing that they really need to keep growing. I'm gonna kind of abandon the fire analogy here, but it's like if someone like were constantly feeding wood into the fire, and every so often, they put in a new log, because that's your moving goalpost, right? That's you realizing that not only do you constantly have to get better, but there is no end in sight when it comes to that, right? You can always improve in some capacity, regardless of how much you've improved, whether it be mechanically improving with strength, improving with size, health improvements, right? All those things qualify as you being better, just in general, right? And the person that is kind of distancing themselves from motivation and more heading towards discipline is going to actively pursue that goal, right? Because motivation can only get you so far. You are not going to accomplish a goal that is long-term like that by being motivated for 2 weeks. 2 weeks in the grand scheme of things, especially when it comes to losing weight and when it comes to gaining weight and putting on muscle, is not a long period of time. It's long compared to like, if you were if you were like running for 2 weeks, okay, then that's a long time. But when it comes to losing weight and something that is, or getting better, something that is an arduous process, just in general, 2 weeks isn't that long of a span of time. And so I think the best way to set yourself up for success in terms of moving on from motivation and heading towards discipline is setting goals that are long-term goals. And while that might seem, counterintuitive at first, because a lot of people, they start off going to the gym, they go, oh, I just want a six-pack, or, I want to feel comfortable in my body. Eventually you will reach that goal quicker than you might think. And what happens is when they reach that goal, they get comfortable, right? And they think, okay, I've reached my goal. And they haven't really thought of like, okay, well, what's next, right? What's after this? And they get stagnant because they don't have something planned for the future. So try and find something that you want to do that can be sustainable for you to keep improving upon. A lot of times I'll tell people, okay, like, do you have a certain weight you want to reach? Like in lifting terms, not like body weight terms, but like lifting terms, do you have a certain weight you want to reach? Because that's an easy goalpost to move, right? Once you are able to do a certain weight, or once you're able to lift a certain weight, it's very easy to be like, okay, I did this in this amount of time. Now we can move it to, a little bit heavier, 5 pounds heavier, 10 pounds heavier. Those little things, even though they're very small changes and very small improvements, they still give you some form of goal to work towards, and they allow you to keep the structure that you originally had at the beginning, right? They allow you to continue the path that you were already walking, and they don't derail you from something that, you've been doing for months on end. Which I think a lot of people struggle with. So, yeah. So we'll finish up talking about this over there at the cable crunch machine. But you guys have to remember that, like, you have to think of these things in a long-term sense. Don't, like, it's okay to be like, okay, like, once you're closing in on a goal, think about it in terms of weeks or days, or even when you're like feeling like, oh, I don't really feel like going to the gym, or I don't feel like being disciplined. You can think about it in terms of days of like, okay, it's just one day at a time, right? That makes sense. But don't think about your goals in terms of days and weeks, because if you do, it's not a long enough period of time for you to, one, get structured, and two, you're going to reach that goal and you're not going to have a plan for, what's next. So, alrighty. Let us do one more set. Maybe one more set here, one more set off camera, and then we'll go do some cable crunches. Okay, one more off camera. Alrighty. Just to wrap it up. I think the main point that I just want to get across is that, like, thinking of things in short term is going to lead to short-term success, if that makes sense. If you're thinking of things a month, 2 months from now, I'm not saying you won't achieve those goals, right? But when you do achieve them, you're really not going to have a mindset that is made for continuous improvement, if that makes sense. Because you've aligned yourself with goals that you can reach with really little to no change, right? Whereas if you're looking at things from a perspective of years, or even like a year, a singular year, in endeavoring to actually achieve that goal in that year is going to allow you to build habits that are not only good for you, but like are going to build discipline and will allow you to carry out the rest of your journey. It will allow you to kind of gauge where you think your efforts should be, where you think you can improve, where you think you can get better. Because you'll have that, not just knowledge, but you'll have the insight into what you are capable of, and what like, I guess, like how disciplined you can be, if that makes sense. Because in that year, you'll understand, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice this. I'm not willing to sacrifice, something else. So just think about it. Think about it in that time frame, you guys. Don't rush things. Losing weight and changing yourself and changing your mentality isn't something that happens in months. It happens over years and years and years and years, and it takes a lot of time. But it's worth it, right? You're setting yourself up for success in the future. So, alrighty, let us do our sets. Warm-up's already done, so we'll just do this, and then we'll probably do one. No, we'll do two on camera, and then we'll do one off. Okay, you guys can't see how much weight I'm doing. Okay, one more. Okay. So we got pike ups today. Because my legs aren't sore. Shouldn't be too bad. We'll only do the 2 sets because we did. No. Yeah, we'll do the 2 sets. We'll do one on camera. Yeah, we'll do one on the camera, one off, and then we'll go check things out. Shout out to whoever invented this method. These don't get any easier. Well, they do, but like, I think it's because I haven't done them in a while. Yeah. Okay, we'll do one more set off camera, and then we'll go check things out. This is how we're looking today. Remember, today's just a rest. My biceps are sore as hell, which is a good sign normally, because it means that I pushed myself good. But yeah. If the content was helpful, if you enjoyed it, please drop a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.